Isn't that cool? Isn't that nice? And everything you're seeing here is basically built within OBS Studio. You just put it as a filter on your audio and it will make this react to it. On my everlasting quest of telling you to not use OBS Studio as a motion design software, then showing you a tutorial on how to step-by-step use OBS Studio as a motion design software, today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty interesting shader for OBS Studio. It's created by Andy and it's currently available for his members with product access. Now, if you're new to OBS, this sounds like gibberish. What's a shader? See, there's an OBS plugin called OBS Shader Filter, and it allows you to use files that will modify the source or generate new stuff. If you ever wondered how people are doing fancy effects with their camera and other sources, that's what they're using. And if you Google it, you'll find my videos on the subject. So I'll make a new scene in OBS Studio and I'll add a color source. Shader Filter is a plugin. It goes on any source. Oh, I wish I could do this on text. You can. I wish I could do this on my camera. You can. Let's make it a pleasant color and I'll center this source and I'll go to filters. The Shader Filter plugin gives you this filter called User Defined Shader. You click OK, you click Load Shader Text from File, and when you click Browse, it actually brings you to the folder that has over 100 examples straight from the plugin. But when you download the pattern tiler, you need to put it into that folder so you can easily find it. It's called Stream Up Pattern Tiler right there, and I can click Open. And there you go. You're going to see this sort of pattern, this sort of grid open up. And I'm going to do my best to really show you all of the options. All right. So first option is paint background. Basically, it created a gray background color. Remember that our color source was blue. So if I remove that, we get the original background with the yellow dots. So if you're adding this to like your webcam, for example, if you want your webcam to be visible, you would uncheck this. Now, before I even go with those, what I'm gonna do is change the color so that it's a little bit more visible. Yeah, I think that's better. And we have the vignette effect. So you're gonna see that the corners basically get a little more transparent so that we get like a focused circle in the middle. So if you really wanna do something very centered, you can use that. Then shape, you can choose between a dot. There are rings, square, diamond, plus, polygon, star, OBS source. So if you have like another image source or any other source, you can probably bring that in. Horizontal line, vertical line, or a custom image. So you can go ahead here and basically browse for an image that you already have. If you have a logo or something, I don't know. I really love using the plus, so I'm gonna keep it on the plus here. And you can mix it with another shape. But right now, if you pick another shape, for example, plus with a ring, you're not gonna see the ring. We're gonna have to go down into the options to see it. So to make it more visible, I'm immediately gonna go to size and make those super big. And I'm going to reduce the density. This might be too much. Like that. Okay, that gives us a good idea. Then there's edge softness if you don't want it to be too, that looks like something else, too sharp. Then we have rotation, where it rotates everything. It can also auto rotate, so I'm gonna lower that. Basically right now, it's automatically slowly rotating counterclockwise. I bring it up, you can really see that effect. Now, if you choose polygon, you would have polygon sizes. And let's scroll down and there's visibility. So pretty much how much it populates the screen. And then there's twinkle. Twinkle will basically bounce between 0 opacity to 100% opacity randomly. We can bring that down just a little bit. Then there's twinkle speed. If I bring it all the way up and I do this, it's gonna twinkle really hard. And if I bring it down, it's gonna be slower. Then size variation should go without saying, but I'm just gonna demonstrate. Then rotation variation. So you're basically starting to break it apart. So it's not super like straight and super predictable, if you will. And this is where we get shape mix. So it's gonna mix in between those two shapes that we selected, between the ring and the plus. And now you can really see like the difference. Keeping in mind that with the Move plugin, all of those things can be dynamically animated. They can be animated, but on top of that, you can make them dynamically animated. You can let chat basically play with those settings if you want to. You can make it react to your audio and all that. If you watch all my videos, you know. And if you don't, you should. There's also hue variation, and that is if you selected a different color. I'll put it at 1 and I'll go back and select like a specific color. Let me go with green. And this is what the hue variation does. If I bring it down, it gets closer until it's basically monochrome. I like to keep it like in the middle. It's pretty cool. It gives you a slight variation and gives more color just to whatever you chose, okay? Then we have the scroll option. I'm gonna do this. As you can see, it's just scrolling. Then there's the angle, if you want it to scroll diagonally or wherever. Then there's drift. Actually, I'm gonna lower the scroll so I can show you what the drift does, and then I might combine them. So drift, basically have them slowly moving individually. It's pretty cool. You can get some pretty cool effects. And then you have the drift speed, which almost creates this wave effect. It's really nice. Bring it in the middle like that. So if you combine this with the scrolling, you really have this drifting, almost like leaves floating in the wind. Then there's pulse. So pulse is basically individual scale growing and shrinking basically. Then of course there's the pulse speed. And now here's the biggest question when you see this. It's like, what do I use this for? What does that have to do with live streaming? The truth is, in my opinion, this is mostly a motion design type of filter. I truly feel like this is something that you would use to be creative. Or if you don't want your design to be too much outside of OBS, so you want to create everything with like color sources or just have those effects directly inside of OBS. Look at that. For example, Red Gear implemented it in his overlays, but also in his transitions. And everything you're seeing here is basically built within OBS Studio. What are the advantages? Well, the advantages are if you don't have access or don't want to go touch another editing software, well, you can do all that stuff in OBS. But also, all of that stuff, since its data is just color sources, for example, it's customizable. If you want to change the color, if you want chat to change the color, if you want to make it interactive, if you want to make it react to audio, if you want stuff to happen because it's alert based. For example, it changes color when there's a certain alert. Maybe someone types in chat and then your whole overlay system changes color. All of that is possible. Maybe the icon changes. Like here you can see he's using StreamerBot, and StreamerBot has a bunch of functionalities to let you do that type of stuff. So this is the big advantage of doing that stuff with OBS. Now, don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that OBS Studio is better than a motion design software. I'm saying it has its advantages, and the advantages are customizing whatever you do on the fly. I also did some tests to see how I would make it react to music. And as you can see, for example, I had linked, what is it called? The drift to the audio. So when it peaks, not only the hue variation changes, so it becomes colorful at every beat, but also I was playing with you can see me playing with the factor here, the drift amount right there. And that's with the Move plugin. You just put it as a filter on your audio and it will make this react to it. If you want to learn how to do that, go watch my video called Everything Reacts to Audio in OBS Studio. So yeah, you can get pretty wild results with it. And then you can even record them just to implement them into OBS Studio as media sources. In fact, if you do actual editing on the side, you know, for example, if you're just using Adobe Premiere can't do this. I mean, it can, but it's not as simple as what we're seeing there with OBS Studio. So you can record a couple seconds of that and then boom, you have a background for whatever video you're doing in your editing software. Again, I'm not saying to use OBS like a motion design software, but wow, it's getting easier and easier to make cool stuff, like truly, truly easy. If I do Control F, I can fill the screen, add a brand new text, don't even name it, type stream starting, make sure I align it center, go to select font, pick my favorite font, make it big, click OK, add a filter, 3D block, add a wiggle, go back and make the text even bigger, center it, add another color source, make it purple, adjust the width, make that very big, rotate that, place that, Control C that, Control V that, place that, adjust the pattern, the vignette. Now let's make it scroll. Look at that. I added a ripple shader to the top and bottom. Added 50 extra pixel at the bottom. We're gonna add 50 at the top also. Look at that. So you can record this and then add it as your starting soon screen. Just like a video, you import it back into OBS as just like a media source. That way it doesn't use up like your CPU or anything, and you're good. And you're pretty much good. And that's OBS Studio. That is OBS Studio. If you're wondering for the 3D effect, again, I have multiple videos on that. Check it out. And yeah, that took me, what, 10 minutes? And again, since everything is done in OBS Studio, it's easily customizable. So be right back. And just like that, you have your be right back screen. Press Control D to center, scale it down a little bit. And there you have it. Isn't that cool? Isn't that nice? Make sure to check out the link in the description if you want to get it. Show Indy some love because he's been creating a lot of stuff. He actually does a bunch of stuff for OBS, not just shaders, but he does have some pretty cool shaders. Lucid Glass is one of them. I might make a video on this one because people have been asking me how to create alerts with them. So this is basically the Apple liquid glass thing, but as a shader, so super easy to use. He has some OBS plugins. Check it out. Check it out. Also, like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch.